Hamilton County Coaches Show, because normally we don't have a coaches show on the week of Labor Day. With this big game coming up in the Hoosier Crossroad Conference, and also being a game of the week, Noblesville versus Westfield, I wanted to interview both coaches. And today I got Justin Roden, the head football coach at Noblesville. Welcome, Justin.
Thanks, Perry. I appreciate it.
Hey, victory last week. The first one is a Miller.
Right. Winning always makes things
a lot brighter.
Right? Brighter. Everybody in the hallway is, quick to say, great job, and I'm very quick to also deflect that and put it back on the kids. They did a fantastic job of responding to a pretty good football team, and in situations where they could have gave up touchdowns, they gave up field goals, which allowed them to kind of hang in the game a little bit and find a way to win. Absolutely,
and the one thing about it is the Hoosier Crossroad Conference, you have to celebrate that evening when you win that game, but after that you got to go to work for the next one. So
yeah, it's interesting because after the game our students were excited. They wanted to charge onto the field, and our athletic director and administration, I give them a lot of credit, came in to ask me first, and I told them no, that we would go celebrate with them because truthfully, I'd like to win more than one.
Absolutely.
I don't want to celebrate anybody else's field. If we win the league, or something like that, then it's worthy to celebrate. But it's the first, hopefully, of a lot more, and we're a long way from where we want to be. But it was nice to find a way to win on Friday.
Well, Coach, I think you led into right at the beginning here. One of the big differences early in that ball game, that defense of yours basically. It bent a little bit, but it didn't break. Okay,
yeah.
So those two field goals in the first half was huge for them.
Absolutely.
They got on the board, but they didn't put it in the end zone, and so that gave you a little momentum to build on. So
absolutely, on the cover of our defensive playbook, it says bend but don't break, and that's something that I take a great deal of pride in as a defensive guy first. That's where my roots are. As far as bringing that philosophy to Fishers, I take a great deal of pride also in the fact that we've only been here a short period of time, but our kids, found a way there when their backs were up against the wall to make a play or to stop them from getting in the end zone. And we just basically kept living to play another play. And, when they're playing a quarterback like they were that was inexperienced, if we can hang around a little bit longer and, allow him to, make a mistake. Young kids do that. There's a rule that, my coach taught me years ago that for every sophomore you start on Friday nights is a game that you're going to lose. So when you start young players or they've got a young player on their side of the ball, that's the nature of high school sports. It's the nature of being a kid that, if you can hang around and keep putting that ball in his hands, there's a good chance that, he's going to make a mistake. And lucky for us, that young man over there playing quarterback for Fishers made a few of them.
Yeah, absolutely. There was 4 interceptions in that ball game. A big one. Zach Groover got 2 interceptions. Talk a little bit about Zach because he had a great game.
Yeah, Zach and Justin both had 2. The thing about Zach is Zach gets sick before every game. I'm a guy that gets nervous and I get sick a little bit, but Zach takes it to a level that I don't think I've ever seen from a young man. I wasn't sure that he was going to be able to play in the game, and to go from being somebody that we didn't know was going to play to somebody that made 2 pretty important interceptions, and both cases set the tone for the game. One at the end of the half to put us in position to score, and the other to take one all the way back to the house to actually score. Both were invaluable, and at the same time I don't want to take anything away from Justin because Justin on the opposite side of the field made 2 plays. I'd like to see the young man fall down in the right situations after making those interceptions, but it's a game of plays. In this conference, as you mentioned, both teams on Friday night and every week in the conference, everyone has good players, and it's just a matter of who makes a few more plays than their team and who turns it over, less. Usually is going to be blessed to find a way to win.
Absolutely, and the one thing about this group, we've talked about it before, with this senior group, and you got a lot of great leaders in this senior group, and as we had talked before, this is a group that's had 3 different coaches in 4 years, okay? But on the defensive side of the ball, the one thing that they've always had is Adam Metzler as their defensive coach, and that goes a long way of them understanding each other.
Yeah, and when I, coming over here, one of the first people that I got a chance to talk to was Mets and I on the telephone, and very quickly on the phone I could tell that he was someone just personality-wise that would fit with the philosophy that I believed in defensively. I mean, Mets is taking well, let me back up here a little bit. He's running a defense that I like to say is mine. I mean, here's the playbook, and one of the first questions I asked with him: are you good with me coming in every once in a while and giving you a trump card? Are you good with me sometimes being out of place and stepping in and maybe stepping on your toes? And he said, absolutely, you're the head coach. And so he has really embraced the 50. He's running it in a way that is what I believe in. And so I think the kids have quickly bought in. Like you said, he's provided some consistency at a time when there's lots of turnover. The kids play hard for him. And Adam is energetic. He's got a personality that the kids, buy into. And even days, yesterday it's 95 degrees outside and he's jumping around like a goofball, or he's running the sprints with the kids. That's important. The kids Absolutely. Buy into that, and that type of attitude is contagious. And we've got a lot of coaches. You've got a chance to see Coach Munson and a few others that bring an intensity and an energy that this program needs and our kids need.
And I've noticed that coming to practice, and I came from the first practice to I was again there last night. And one of the things that I see, there's you've brought intensity to your coaching staff. And also, I was, being a good listener, because I think you can learn a lot. And I was listening to some of those seniors getting on some of those younger kids about not putting out in practice. And that's huge, because if you can get your team and your senior leadership to buy into it, that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, everything is about accountability. And like you said, this senior group here, we've tried in a very quick period of time to let them know that their job this year is bigger than just this single season. I mean, they've got to set the foundation for the underclassmen. And what I mean by that is, if you're dogging it, or you're sitting out, or you're not going 100 miles an hour, well, you're the model for the younger kids, including the freshmen. We've got to ask this group to do things beyond just to play good on Fridays. They've got to walk it in the weight room. They've got to walk it off the field. They've got to be good students in the classroom. They've got to, something as simple as on Friday nights, we dress up for school and we look sharp like we're going to on a business interview, and we want those young guys looked at the same. So you're right. There's definitely some accountability. Now, how we hold them accountable sometimes, I'd like to see us improve on that. Sometimes it's better to do it with actions. Well, a lot of times it's better to do it with actions than words. But I'll take the mixture of both right now. And yeah, we do have a good group of seniors that are good kids off the football field and doing a good job right now mentoring some of them young sophomores and even some of those ninth graders.
Well, Coach, let's talk a little bit about this coming up game with Westfield this week. Westfield won their first Hoosier Crossroad Conference, beating Zionsville game, and talking to Coach Gilbert, they played pretty well, and they had 50 runs rushing from scrimmage, which is big, okay, and Simmons did a good job through the air for Westfield against Zionsville. So, the one thing about it, it's going to be a tough game, and Jake Gilbert does a pretty good job of coaching over there at Westfield.
He's a really good coach, and it's another one of those situations when you really like the guy that you're coaching against, but that you hate that you're coaching against him. His kids are very well skilled. You see it all over the place. Their technique is fantastic, and truthfully, they might not be the most athletic team that you play against, but they're one of the better ones just because, one, they play really, really hard, and two, they do things the right way, and they squeeze every bit of effort and execution from their players. And when I heard that score Friday, I wasn't surprised, but at the same time, I was a little disappointed because I was kind of hoping they would be down a little bit. But we watched the film, and you're right about the quarterback. He's a dual threat player. You could even call it a triple threat because he can run it, he can throw it, and he makes good decisions on their zone reads. And for us, I think everything starts with him, and that's containing him in the run game and doing our best to keep everything in front of us in the passing game.
What's really interesting too, that this Westfield Noblesville battle since 2001 has become quite a rivalry.
Yep.
It's right now Westfield's won 10 games, Noblesville's won 9. Okay, last 3 years Westfield has beaten Noblesville by very, very close games. And this is also a little bit of different. I think in 2010, Coach Lance Scheib and Jake Gilbert started the Midland Trophy award for the winning team. And the Shamrocks have won it the last 3 years, and I know you'd probably like to snap that a little bit.
Well, it's fun to have trophy games. It's fun to have tradition games. I think more than anything else, we get so caught up on when you win the league and you want to win sectionals that sometimes you forget how much fun it is to play the guy next door. There's a great deal of pride when I'm at Grand Park 3-4 days a week with my son for soccer, and Coach Gilbert is there with his son at football, and you want to beat that guy. There's a great deal of pride when you go in that community and say, hey, we beat them, and to wear your Noblesville shirt over into that community, and there's pride in any sport that you do. Absolutely. When you want that. So it's healthy. It's what high school sports are all about. We'll have a big crowd. They'll travel well, and as I told the kids this week, I don't want to see any green in the hallways, and hopefully we can find a way to make a few plays this Friday.
That sounds great. That sounds great. And the one thing about it is, in last year's game, in fact, Coach Gilbert talked about it, that you've got many players this season that are coming back that played a very, very good game last year against Westfield.
Yeah.
Grant Guillermo had a big game. In fact, he completed 61% of his passes that game last year. He was for 120 yards, 14 for 23, and also ran the ball well, 16 carries for 114 yards. Okay.
Yeah.
4 or 5 of the receivers you have coming back played in this game last year and done well. So it's kind of nice to have experience going out there on the field in a big game. I know they lost, but it was a very close game at 30-26.
Yeah, I think that's one of those situations in rivalry games and in a league like this when a few plays, set the tone. Last year, we were up 14-0 very quickly, and we actually were up 21-0 for 20-0 for a moment on an interception that got called back, and that play really was crucial if you go back and look at it, just because it changed the flow of the game, and and then Westfield kind of responded and changed the whole. I can't say mindset of the game, but they changed the flow of the football game itself. But you're right, it went back and forth. Grant made a lot of great plays. There were some big plays by Groover and Barrett in that game that again were really helpful. But the beauty of this is, you're looking for the guys that haven't made a play before to step up. You're looking for those guys that are trying to step up and do something that you might not expect, and that's the fun part of this. There's veteran guys, but it's the ones that you don't think of that kind of maybe like a Sparks, who he made 2 big plays last week. This week it might be somebody different. It could be Pollard, who's getting a chance to play tight end. It could be one of our outside linebackers. I'm excited. I'm excited for these kids to get a chance to play in a big game and a fun one like that, and a chance to win the trophy.
I think that's one thing we learned in the Hoosier Crossroad Conference is, every week's a tough game. Every week you face a tough coach. I mean, they're not in 6A football. They're not there because they're not a very good coach. They're there because they're very, very good at what they do. Okay?
Absolutely.
And so it's really difficult. And in many times in big sporting events, and you can look back over history and everything, and at every level of sport, that guy that comes up big that you're not expecting to play well can be a difference maker. Like, obviously Gilbert is we know about Simmons and we know about his running game and those type things, but that player that you don't count on, because you can't be ready for everybody on a football team.
No, and you can't be ready for everything that they throw at you. And you mentioned this. If you go back the last 3 opponents, if you're taking John over at Carmel, he won a state championship not too long ago. You take Rick, he won a state championship. You take Gilbert this week, he won a state championship. So it's 3 straight weeks of guys that have won state championships. You don't win state championships without a great leader. So this is the reason why I signed up for this. I wanted to put myself in a situation, challenge myself, to go against the best. And it's a long book. I'm just beginning the story here, and I'm learning as I go. I'm making some mistakes, but hopefully after we make those mistakes, I improve upon what I'm doing. And I'm excited, like I said, to coach against guys like this and players like this. And I know the crowd Friday night. I was just telling my son the other day, I don't think I've ever been to a regular season game at any level with a crowd like that we had, on both sides of the Fishers game. And they're really, that's week 2 or 3. I can't imagine what it's like when, we went put a few more games together and you start trying to play for championships, what that would be like. That's part of my goal here at Noblesville. I'd love to see us playing for a championship game, and hopefully this Friday night, playing for a trophy, and, after coming off a big win, hopefully we can get a big crowd, and, people can enjoy Friday nights and make those Friday nights mean something.
And the one thing I will have to say, I grew up here. I left here for a while. I came back, and I've been back about 10 years now and been very involved in Noblesville athletics and Noblesville football. It has always amazed me that we've had some lean years, but we still got people in the crowd, and there are great fans here. There
are loyal fans. There are fans all over the place. Trips to the hardware store turn into football conversations. I've been told on the weekends by my wife to stop wearing black and gold because she doesn't want me to get stopped in the gas station or going out to lunch for someone to talk about football. And you're right. It's a very loyal community. It's a group that is thirsty for more wins, but at the same time, they're very loyal. The homecoming festivities are a couple weeks away, and I've been floored here with all the plans and what's taking place. And people told me that this might be a pretty large community, but they do homecoming like it's small town USA, and that I'll be overwhelmed with that. And again, I'll probably say it 100,000 more times before the day that I leave here, but that's one of the bigger reasons why I chose this community and this school, is because of that feel of the people here and their support for football, and basically as a whole, just how the people here live their life. It's a blue-collar community that really takes a great deal of pride in being from this part of Indiana.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, because I know preparing for the game on Friday night against Westfield and a Hoosier Crossroad Conference game, it's a big one. They're all big, though. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't get easy. You got 6 more games to go. It's all conference games, so they're all important.
Yep.
And we wish you the best, and we'll be there to broadcast on Friday night. We're excited about that, and excited to watch this game, the Midland Trophy game, and see how it turns out. And the best of luck.
Appreciate it. Thank you too for. I got our boys in the background in the locker room acting like a bunch of yahoos because they're out of school early today. But I appreciate you coming in, and I appreciate your support. And I'm looking forward to a fun game on Friday.
All right, sounds good, Coach.